Evan, you have this famous nickname in Moxie, the Slim Reaper. How did you get that name?
Let me think back. I think that was last summer. So 2020.
It's stuck. Everybody knows you as the Slim Reaper.
I think the person that came up with that was Brady Lewis. I think he was the one that came up with that. Maybe it was 2020. I don't even remember. It was at least 1 or 2 years ago. And I think that came during the Moxie tournament that we do, like the competition. I think it was 2020. Now that I look back, and so I remember those were those days I was going out really early. So I was going out probably 9, 10 a.m., which, compared to 1 p.m. is a couple hours more. And then I stay out really late, like a lot later than normal. And I know the guys on my team, Brady and Cole, they were like, this guy's just crazy. Like it's just way too much, because it was their first summer. Yeah. And so looking back, I think it was Brady, maybe Cole as well, but they both kind of came up with that nickname, and everyone else just kind of went with it. So yeah.
I think it identifies you perfectly. So I have the opportunity during these competitions to talk to all the leadership, and the most dreaded person for them to compete against was you, because they knew they'd have to be on the doors by 8 a.m. and have to knock till 10:30 p.m. minimum just to even compete with you. Like, I remember particularly Charlie Stone, man, when he knew how to get against you, man. Like, I'm pretty sure he binged ate and drank a ton of water, but like, guys have to get prepared physically to go compete against you, man. And I just thought that was like one of the coolest nicknames like ever earned by any one of the reps. One of my favorite things working with you is like, you're one of the very few reps that I've had the opportunity to work with that every year increases their volume of sales from 1 to 2 to 3. This past summer, you did over $300,000 in revenue. You did better in May, June, and July, and every subsequent month, man. What separates you from everyone else?
Honestly, I've always felt like ever since I started doing this job, after, just doing it my first summer, I felt like I wasn't really talented at doing sales. I look around and I can see other people that just have a way of talking and presenting themselves. They just, they can sell anything to anyone, right? Yeah. There's always people like that. And so I remember, looking back, and I was like, I feel like there's always there's two kinds of people, right? Those that are talented, those that work hard, and maybe, you'll get people that are both, right? For me, I've never looked at myself as someone like super talented in, sales skills, things like that, right? And so I felt like just ever since I started doing this job that I just need to work harder than anyone else. So I just try to be the hardest worker that there is, on my team, within the office, with whoever's surrounding me. I just want to be known as the one that works the hardest, because if I can't beat them on talent, which who knows, maybe I've gained a few skills since I started, but I feel like I can always beat out people at working hard. So
yeah, you for sure have one of the greatest work ethics of anyone I've ever met, and it's super impressive. I think one of my favorite stories about you that kind of demonstrates who you are is, I don't even remember what year it was, but I've always remembered it. You were in a tournament and you were competing, and you're just a man of integrity. So you always wanted to compete within the rules. And you called me, and there's a specific customer that said, hey, if you help me install these blocks in my Wii poles, I'll buy your service. And you called me just like, hey, Chase, like, he's going to buy, but am I breaking the rules? And I was like, one, man of character, integrity, like always operating inside of doing what's right, but two, willing to hustle and go outside the norm. And of course, I'm the best manager ever. And I said yes. And you got the sale and you won the tournament that weekend. And for me, when I look back over what are stories that characterize Evan Hershberger, is stories like that. You thinking outside the box, and you just out hustling, out working everyone around you to get the absolute best results. One of the things I'm pretty proud of, particularly for you this summer, is you got everyone to sign back on to come back next year. What went into creating a culture where that was able to happen?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I focused on throughout the summer was just making it a fun experience. I think a lot of times I get too much in the mode of like, let's work, which is good, right? Because that's what gets people results. That's what, helps them to have, they'll make more income, right? They'll gain more skills just by putting in that work. But I think I didn't always focus on helping people to have the most fun. And so I think just we really just focus on helping people have a lot of fun. And I think we had a lot of unity as a team, especially during like the team competition that we had this past summer. I think we really came together and just like depended on one another to go out and make things happen. So I think a combination of things, but probably just making it just a fun experience for everyone. And there was just that unity that was there between everyone.
What are you looking to do better next year? What's your focus?
So looking towards next year, what I really want to do, I guess right now I want to go out and I want to, recruit a bunch more studs, a bunch more really awesome people to come work with me, because I love that. I love the opportunity. For me, I love the opportunity to be able to grow, right? To improve myself and to be able to have that same opportunity to help other people do that, just to play a small part at least in doing that is something really cool. So to look for more people that are willing to grow, to get better and to work hard. And then for myself, I really want to improve my sales as well. So I want to go out and I want to sell. My goal for next year is I want to sell $300K in general pest control. And I want to do about $150K mosquitoes. So $450K total is what I'm pushing for.
While running an enormous office.
That's the goal.
My next question for you is, a big theme for me this year is commitment. When I look at what we could be doing better, I think we have lots of things we're doing very, very well at. But my goal this year is I really want to, when people choose, and if we have the fortunate opportunity to work with those individuals that choose to work with us, my goal is to help them understand that the deeper committed they are to their goals, the deeper they are committed to our program, the more likely that they're going to become that version of who they want to be, that they're going to be able to create that freedom, create that opportunity, and definitely be closer to that man or woman they want to be. And when I reflect on who are the most successful people I've worked with, they're people like you, Evan, people that are very deeply committed to their goals, and so my question for you is like, how do you define commitment and how do you get so committed to what you're going to go do?
It's a good question. I think for me, I think being committed is something that's hard to find in a lot of people today. Mm-hmm. I think it's really easy to, say you're going to do something and then maybe you just don't feel like it, when the time comes and you just back out for whatever reason and give some excuse, right? Uh-huh. Or maybe something more that you thought was more pressing, right, came up and you decided to do that instead. Mm-hmm. I think that commitment is a huge thing just because whatever you go, commit and say you're going to do, you should go do, right? Because that's who you are as a person, right? And so for me, I feel like when I commit to something, I'm just going to go all in, right? Mm-hmm. I remember like thinking back to like my first summer. It was really hard for me at the beginning because I just was like, my first 6 days on the doors, Monday through Saturday, I made 0 sales. So I just really did not want to be there. I was dating my wife at the time who was like across the country doing school, right, and working. And so I was like, I don't want to be here. Like, I'm not good at this job. I can't do it, Yeah. And so thoughts ran through my head, like, why not just go back, Like, it was only a week. You only wasted a week. But you didn't really spend too much money being out there. Like, just go. Like, no big deal, right? And, my wife actually helped me a ton with that. And she was like, just remember, like, you committed to do this. Like, it doesn't matter if you suck right now. Like, you got to figure it out and make it happen. And that, that moment, I think after that first week or so is when I just was able to flip a switch. And I started to realize, and I'm not perfect at it still, but I'm trying to get there is, when I commit to go do something, I'm going to go do it no matter what. Right. And if I'm struggling with it, I just got to figure out a way to make it happen because I committed to do it. Right. And I've realized also, like, along the way, don't commit to things that you can't do. Right. Yeah. That's one thing I think that was hard for me at the beginning was like, I don't want to say no to people, right? Because you want to, if people ask you to help them out or if they ask you to go do something, you don't want to say no a lot of times. Mm-hmm. But I've realized of like limiting yourself to what you're committing to, because then that just increases your power as a person, I think. And so only committing to what you know for sure that you're going to be able to do, and not back out of no matter what.
Yep. There's goals and then there's commitments.
Right. There's a big difference there.
And I'm really happy you brought up your wife, Caroline, one of the most remarkable people I've ever met.
It's true.
And the highest performing reps I've ever worked with have all been married, and I don't think that's a coincidence. And I think there's a lot of credit that goes there's a lot of work that's done behind the scenes that a lot of people that don't see. And I know a lot of people approach door-to-door sales that are married sometimes can be like a little hesitant just because they're afraid, like, oh, if I'm gone all the time, you know, what's that going to do to our marriage? And my question for you is, how did you balance having an amazing marriage while sacrificing and working over the summer?
It's a good question. Definitely wasn't easy at first. I think we got married in March, before I went out a couple of years ago. And so I started selling a month and a half after we got married. Yeah. So right away, basically I was, in the thick of it, and I was out working super long hours. So I think I learned then, I should have done a better job at setting expectations of what the summer would look like. Right. Yeah. And I think a big thing that I've realized as well that I'm still trying to get, really good at, I think I have improved quite a bit, but is being present where you are. I think that's a big thing that, if you're out knocking on, you're working, whatever you do for a job, just be there, right? Don't get distracted with a text or an email or whatever comes into your phone. Put it on Do Not Disturb, do what you need to do to be all in, and focused on what you're doing. And then when you're at home, be at home, right? And so that's one thing I think this past summer especially, I really tried to focus on a lot more, was to be there. So when I'm at home with my wife at night or in the morning, be there. Don't be looking at my phone. Don't be doing stuff for work. Don't be taking calls that I don't need to take and stuff like that. So that's one thing I think that's helped a ton. And I think it's a really simple principle that a lot of times we overlook because of its simplicity, right? Just be present where you are.
And when you choose to do this job, married or not, it's definitely a major sacrifice of time, and I think there's a sacrifice of relationships too, because you're focused on building your team in your office, but your number one commitment is always to your wife. So I guess, what advice would you give any married rep before they start the summer?
I think one thing I would say is super helpful is talk about, if you're a married rep, talk about what goals you have for the upcoming summer, what you want to achieve, what commitments that you're going to be making or that you've made. Be open in that communication with your spouse, just because I think when you're on the same page, it makes it like you're on the same team, right? So for me, Caroline and I will always talk about goals for the team and goals for myself, and we'll always be talking about that together, right? Or if I need help with how to work with a certain rep, or just need some advice, she'll be like, oh, maybe you could try this, or you're not close to your goal. So go ahead and do that. Do what you need to do to go hit your goal, right? Just put in the extra hour if you need to, go out early tomorrow and go make it happen, right? But I think it's because we talked about things before the summer actually began. So I think just be on the same page of what the goals are for the summer and just for your life, right? For your life together married, and how Moxie can fit into that, right? How it can be a vehicle to go achieve the goals and dreams that you have. And then, just setting expectations and just being super clear on what you want to get out of the summer.
And you and your wife just moved in your new house. Was that kind of part of your guys' vision coming true?
Yeah. So we wanted to get our own place. And so we're super pumped to do that. But that was, definitely one of our big goals and dreams, was to buy our own place. So we're super happy about that.
Would you say it was worth it?
100%. Yeah, definitely. Looking back, there's obviously always moments where you question it. Is this really worth it? Is it worth this, the struggle or the hard day that you're having, right? But then you get past and you're like, okay, that was definitely worth it. And I think nothing worthwhile will ever come without sacrifice. So
for sure. And I think wives are just really, really important for many reasons, but big one is I feel like they're pretty emotionally in tune. I feel after, we'll say 1 or 2 summers of doing this, you may become, I'd say, a little emotionally hardened to rejection and a few other things. And I, for sure, when I'm recruiting someone, or if I feel like I'm at a stuck point, like it's been kind of nice to have my wife, who's very emotionally in tune, when I'm able to speak with her and tell her what's going on. She oftentimes brings up things to me that I guess are pretty obvious. And so
Yeah.
do you feel like Caroline's been an amazing tool for you as well?
Oh, definitely. 100%. Yeah. There's a lot of times where she's helped me out with my sales, with recruiting, with the team. You know, she'll come up with ideas sometimes when I'm just, you know, stuck in a rut, whatever it may be. So she's been a huge help for, I think, what we're doing here at Moxie. Yeah, I like looking back, you know, on the past. It's been 4 summers now. I don't think I would be nearly close at all to what I'm doing if it wasn't for her. Like, I think I don't know. Like, I just don't think a lot of my success that I've been able to achieve and the blessings I've been able to have in my life, like, if it wasn't for her, like, I don't think I would even have half of that. So yeah, been a huge help.
Yeah, I would totally agree. There's so much behind the scenes, like I'm sure I don't even see. My next question for you is, like, what's your ideal candidate? Like, could you just describe the person you would like to work with most?
Yeah. I think for me, the biggest couple attributes that I look for is people that are just willing to go out there and just work hard, just go out, make it happen, and people that are committed, right? Along with that, I always look for people that are of good character and that are honest. Always want to do the right thing. But I think those 3 things is essentially what I look for in who I've come out to work with me. So nothing special, right? You don't need a lot of sales skills. You don't need to, you know, have, you know, a resume or anything like that. If you're just willing to go out there and work hard, be committed, which essentially means just to be all in to whatever you're doing, right? Whether it's this job, whether it's your schoolwork, I think just if you can be all in to the task that you're doing, that just makes you a much more valuable person, right?
Yeah.
For any organization, for any place you go to work at, or to any club you join, I don't know, whatever you go do, if you can be just all into whatever you do, I feel like that makes you super valuable. And then also that you're a good person, right? And that you're honest and that you maintain your integrity, even when that does get tested sometimes. So those things.
Another nickname that you've received, I'm sure you're aware of, is you've been kind of called like the Energizer Bunny. Like, I think one of the ways, I don't know if it's word to scare or intimidate others, is like, you don't have an off switch, man. Like, when people are competing against you, it's like, Evan never needs to take a break. Evan never needs to stop, right? And for me, I just want to say, like, thank you as someone that's been able to be in a leadership role. Like, you've pushed me really, really hard. Like, in a lot of ways, like, I thought my work level or my work ethic was pretty awesome. And then I get to work with someone like you, like, holy crap, man. Like, I could be working a lot harder and putting in more time. So, like, thanks for your commitment. Thanks for the energy you bring. Thanks for the man that you are and that you bring into the organization. Evan, having worked with you for years, I've seen some amazing results from you know, young men and women that have been able to work with you. I guess as a result of working with Evan Hershberger, what can people expect to become?
So for me, my biggest goal that I want people to achieve when they come out with me for the summer is to become the best version of themselves, and whatever that may be, right? There's guys that, I mean, I've worked with as young as 17, turning 18, or, you know, guys that are, you know, already in their 20s, or, you know, already basically almost done with school or done with school. And so for me, I think whatever part of life you're at, right, whatever thing that you're doing, whatever goals or commitments you have for the future, dreams you have, my goal is just that I can be a couple of stepping stones to get you where you want to go. Whether it be financially, right, whether it be the skills you can gain from doing this, whatever it may be, I want to help you to achieve those dreams and goals you have, even if it's just a couple of stepping stones to get you a little bit closer or to get you to your dream or goal a little bit faster. That for me is what I'm super passionate about doing for people.
What do you enjoy most about door-to-door sales?
About the actual, like, knocking and going door to door?
Yes.
Okay. So about that, I think the coolest thing is the people you can meet. I think a lot of people, they look at door-to-door sales and they just think of it as, you know, people are going to just be mean to you all day long and just slam the door in your face, which, yeah, it does happen, right? Mm-hmm. But I think as long as you can have a good attitude, stay positive, and work hard, you can like have some really cool experiences. I remember this past summer, I served like a church mission in Chile, and I met this lady. She was actually nannying for the house that I knocked, and she didn't speak any English. So I spoke Spanish with her, and I was like, oh, where are you from? And she's like, Chile. And I'm like, no way. I was like, I lived there for like 2 years. And I asked her where she was from. Cause I lived in most of small town cities, kind of out in the country for the most part. Like none of the big cities at all. And most people I meet that are from Chile are from the capital. And I asked her where she was from, and she was from one of the towns I lived in for like 9 months.
Wow.
Like one of the small towns that not many people know of unless you're actually from there. And I was like, no way. And she told me like where she lived, like her house, where it was. And I was like a couple of blocks from there. Granted, she was here in the States when that happened, but it was super cool, like to like make that connection. And that's just one small little example of what can happen. But, and that right there was just, it made my day. Right. And it was cool. She made me like some empanadas. The homeowner came upstairs, sold her. And it was an amazing day. That was probably like my favorite day of the entire summer, and probably my favorite day that I've ever had. Just because I was able to get a good chunk of sales in the neighborhood. I met a Chilean that lived in where I lived. She gave me free empanadas. It was just awesome. So yeah, probably just the experiences you can have, the people you can meet.
Awesome. Why do you love selling in the DC area?
I think the DC area is awesome. Again, going back to what I said earlier, like I think just the people, like the experiences you can have. Just because if you don't know the DC area very well, it's a melting pot. So you get people from everywhere that are everywhere. You get people from Africa, from Asia, Central America, South America, Europe. Literally, like you think of just any country, and it's like there's probably someone from that country in the DC area. It's just a fact. And so I think that's probably like the most fun thing for me is meeting all the different people that are out there and just the experiences you can have while you meet them and stuff like that. So, yeah.
It's awesome, man. If I could say anything to anybody that's like looking to work with you, mine would be like, warning, get ready to work harder than you've ever worked in your life. Get ready to accelerate who you think you can become faster than you've ever been able to, man. Cause that's kind of how I view you, is you're a tremendous accelerator, man. Tremendous accelerator in yourself and in me and other people that I get the opportunity to work with, man. So thanks for being that.
Thank you.
Over now that you've done over 300,000 in revenue, you've recruited an amazing group of guys. What do you need to do to get to the next level?
I think for me to get to the next level, it's just going to take, one thing I really want to do is just become just more disciplined in everything that I do. Right. So, if that means waking up at a certain time every day, doing X, Y, and Z every morning, right. Having like a solid morning routine. I really just want to become super disciplined with my time. I think if I can become disciplined with my time, then I can just have a lot more power over everything else that I do during the day, which means that come time the next summer, if I can just create and maintain just a really good routine of what I'm doing, become even more self-disciplined, then I think that's going to just roll into an amazing summer. So that's my goal.
What are you most excited about this upcoming year?
This upcoming year, I'm most excited about just meeting new people. I think that's one thing I love about recruiting is it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get, right?
Yeah.
I love being able to meet new people and see kind of how Moxie can be, a vehicle for them to get them where they want to go, right? Whether it's to make some extra cash, whether it's to become, if they want to just improve who they are, right? Or gain better communication skills, whatever it may be. I think that's like the most fun part about what I do now, as in terms of like the off season. And so that's what I'm most excited about, is just being able to meet new people, help them to see how Moxie can help them out in their lives and where they're at.
What does Evan Hershberger do for fun in his spare time besides knocking doors?
For fun, I love sports. So, you can ask me about like anything: basketball, football, baseball. Not too much of hockey and soccer, but like basketball, baseball, football. You can ask me really anything about any of those sports, and I can probably answer your question of whether it's a player or a team. I keep up on that pretty well, and I love to watch games when I can as well and play.
What college football team are you following this year?
So I grew up in Arizona, so I follow Arizona State. But I also follow BYU just because I go to BYU Idaho, like just doing online classes now. But I like BYU, but I've always been an Arizona State fan since I was a kid. So kind of both those teams, but yeah.
Awesome. What has been one of the most surprising things about doing door to door for you?
I think one of the most surprising things is that people buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, before I came out for my first summer, I had friends, right, from my mission that, had gotten back before me that had gone out to do, sales for a different company. And, I had messages, trying to just be like, hey, like, let me give you a call, and I always thought like, oh no, it's like one of those like pyramid schemes,
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife was actually the one that got me introduced to it when we were dating at the time. She knew someone that ended up recruiting me. So, but yeah, probably just people buy it. I just didn't think it was a thing, because I remember like as a little kid, this is what would happen is like at our house, if someone came to like knock our door to sell us something, we would always know because we'd look through the little peephole and we could see them holding like a clipboard, and it'd be like my brother and I would just hide, like, because we were just like, like freaked out. We were like, why is someone coming knock our door trying to sell us something,
Yeah.
And so I think the biggest shock is that people buy it, right? People buy what you're selling. I think if you're confident, and you have a good product or service, they'll buy.
What are some of the, I guess, funniest or most random excuses why people can't answer the door? So for me, one, I always laugh, when I will say between the hours of, I don't know, 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. when they say that their mom or dad's in the shower. Like,
yeah.
We used to get a shower at like 1 o'clock, know?
Yeah. I think for me, probably like the funniest, I guess off the top of my head that I can think of right now is when it's like the middle of the afternoon, right? And there's like little kids at home, and they'll answer be like, oh yeah, my dad's taking a nap or my mom's taking a nap, right? And they're like 10-year-old, 8-year-old kids, and I'm just like, okay. It's just kind of like, can you go see if they're able to come to the door,
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of times like parents will just give that excuse. That's what my parents would do. If like one of us ever answered the door, right? Would you say something like, oh yeah, we're busy doing something, right?
Yeah.
And I've had it happen where like the adult will come into the door and they weren't taking a nap, It's just like the kid saying that. So probably for me, that's probably like the most random one is just taking a nap like in the middle of the day.
What are some of your favorite first year stories that make you laugh every year?
Oh man, favorite first year stories. So I thought of one from last year. There was this guy named Jackson. Love that guy. And it was like literally within like 20 minutes, probably less. I think I had just dropped him off. I was driving to my part of the neighborhood, like probably like 5 minutes or less. And he knocks his door and the lady tries to talk to him through the window, right? And he calls me. He's like, hey, like this lady's trying to talk to me through the window. Can I do that? What? He was an awesome guy, and it was just really funny because it was so random. I didn't expect to get that kind of call of like, hey, like this lady's talking to me through her window. Can I do that? I'm like, yeah, dude, for sure. Like talk to you through the doorbell, through the front door, through the window, the backyard, whatever you need to do. Like just talk to them. Yeah. It was just really funny though.
That was pretty funny. For me, my favorite are like the almost stories. Like it'll be the first year and you'll get in the car and like you'll be a little bit quiet, because you don't think they got very many sales. And then they'll be like super chipper and really excited. And, you can tell they got something to say. And it's like, tell me about your day. And they're like, oh, it was really good. Like, I got 7 sales. And you're just like, wait a second, it's showing like 1 on the leaderboard, and they're like, oh, it's the only one showing up. And they're like, well, you got to understand, so-and-so is going to call me back. So-and-so is going to call me back. This guy is a real estate agent and he's got 20 referrals for me, right? Yeah. And for me every year, it's like, I don't want to crash his hopes. But I'm just like, yeah, like, always better to try to get those on the doors, and like that for me every year is just so funny because I swear every first year rep goes through that. Like they'll be super lit up in the car. They feel like they've got it figured out. Yep. And then
that was me.
And that was me too, man. I think that's probably every first year rep. Yeah. And then the cold reality of, if you don't sell them on the doors, chances are going to drop pretty quickly that you don't sell them afterwards,
Definitely.
But for me, like whenever I hear those every year, like it always gets a really big smile out of me. And it's like, oh, you'll figure it out soon.
Yep, definitely.
And then probably like that being said, for any first year rep that's coming out, what would you say are 3 things they need to do before they start the summer?
I think one of the biggest things I've realized over the past couple of years is just having a really good morning routine.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean waking up at 5 a.m., right? Or, super early in the morning. Like, cool, if you want to do that and you can do that, do it, right? But I think it's just like having a set morning routine of what you're going to do every day. Because I think the morning routine that you have really sets the tone for the rest of your day. So I think number 1, a morning routine. I think number 2, have really clear goals of what you want to achieve during that summer, right? I think not only like sales goals, because that's important, but like also like personal development goals, like who you want to become, right? Mm-hmm. How you want to get better at being a son, a brother, a friend, right? Whatever roles you have going on in your life, like figure out like what you want to do to improve in those roles. And I think just have goals for how you want to get better. And I think number 3 is just be able to get into a mindset of just being able to work hard every single day, right? So whether that means like reading, like 7 Habits, it's an amazing book to just help you be more effective, whatever you need to do to get into that groove. I think just be ready and just, I guess, get prepared to just work as hard as you can and probably work harder than you ever have. I thought like on my mission, like when I was out knocking doors for 2 years down in South America, I thought that was like the hardest thing I'll ever do. And I was completely wrong when I came and did this. It was way harder doing this. So the rejection hurts a lot more, especially at the beginning. It doesn't affect me really much now, but at the beginning, it affects you a lot more than it does as a missionary, right? Which a lot of the guys we have come work with us have served missions, right? So I think, just be ready to work harder than you ever have, no matter what you did previously.
Well, this job is obviously really challenging. It does take a lot of hard work and focus to be successful at it. Why do you keep coming back?
For me, I keep coming back. Well, I guess to answer that question, I first started doing this job because I needed money. I was completely broke. And so I was like, might as well just give it a shot. Like, I really didn't want to, but my wife, like I said, she's awesome. She was like, just go do it. Like, you don't have any money. Like, you're making like $12 an hour. Like, just go do it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I'm like, right. And so I agreed to go do it. And looking back, that was why I started, why I stayed, and why I'm still here. For me, it's the opportunity that I have to surround myself with people that are always trying to get better, because that just forces me to want to get better as well. And so I think being surrounded being surrounded by people like that just pushes me to be more successful than I ever thought was possible. And also just improve who I am as a person, right? For me, I love being able to set goals for myself to just get better in the roles that I have going on in my life, right? As a husband, a friend, brother, son, right? Whatever roles I've got going on in my life, like I love being able to look back after every summer and just see how I was able to improve and maybe not improve, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe, from there, recalibrate and set goals to get better. But I love just the feeling that I get of being able to consistently improve and be surrounded by people that want to do that, right? Yeah. That aren't just happy being where they are, right? Yeah. But wanting more, because, there's always something you can do to improve who you are, your situation, and what you're doing. And so I think just being surrounded by people like that, it's a really cool feeling.
I agree, man. And something that I really value in you is just your natural desire to be successful. I feel like we can teach leadership, we can teach sales skills, we can teach and show the map for lots of ways to be very successful working within our organization. But I don't know if there's a way you can teach desire, And so my question for you is, what do you do to refill that cup, man? How do you stay so driven? For me, I always think like whatever I'm doing, this is like the only option, right? Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times doing this job specifically, it can be really easy when crap hits the fan, when you have a really rough day, to think and be like, well, maybe I can go do this, right? Maybe I can do X, Y, or Z. That's maybe easier, right? Maybe I won't make as much money, but I can go do this, and maybe it'll be like safer, whatever it may be. And so I think for me, like one thing I try to always think of is like, no, like this is my only option. Like I committed to do this. I just need to be all in on this one thing and just do everything I can to maximize the opportunity. Because,
you never know. Like, you can't control what opportunities will come your way, right? Sure, maybe you'll get handouts here and there from people you know for different job opportunities, whatever it may be. But for me, I always try to just be in the mindset of, this is my only opportunity. I just need to make the most of it.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why you're so successful at what you do. So, you know, I think Tim Hedrick said best, like, the people that do really well in this job are the ones that have made the decision that no matter what, I'm going to figure this out. And when I look at all kinds of, because this job, there's challenging, there's all kinds of crazy events that go on. But for the sales reps that have decided before the summer even started, I'm committed. No matter what, I'm finishing the summer. I'm going to figure this out. Those reps, like, you know, it may go up and down a little bit backwards, but it always ends up going up, man. And I think when you approach life with those opportunities, when you approach this job with that mindset of, this is what I've committed to for this time period, whether it's for the summer or if you're in leadership, a kind of recruiting number. But when you literally treat that as, this is my only option, with that kind of commitment comes a lot of success, and a lot of success that you've seen.
Yeah, I agree. I think that really separates those that are going to succeed and excel, like for a long time, continually, long term, from those that won't, right? I think it doesn't matter what you do. I think if you're going to do school for a semester, right, you're taking 12 credits, whatever you're going to be doing, just be all in and be committed to do everything you can to be the best at what you're doing, right? I mean, and I think also one thing I've heard from Tim Hedrick as well that I think about, like, almost daily, probably every day, if not multiple times a day, is how you do anything is how you do everything, right? Yeah. And so if you're not going to give 100% to, right, like what you're doing it for a job or what you're doing in your classes, who says you're going to give 100% to the relationships you have, right? Because how you do anything is literally how you do everything, which is such a small but I think powerful quote. And so, yeah, I think if you're going to be all in, committed to that one thing, sure, you're going to have ups and downs, but you're going to eventually hit that success. And as long as you continue doing what you're doing, it's just going to keep going up.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. And I'm trying to better create that attitude in everyone I get to work with, and even with myself, man. Like, thanks for being such an inspiration to me, man. I really appreciate who you are, and I feel very fortunate and lucky that I've been able to work with you for now 4 years. It feels like we just met yesterday.
It's true.
So thanks for everything you're doing to push me to become a better leader, man. It means a lot.
Yeah. Thank you.